Shit. I'm sorry. I apologize. How you doing, YouTube? This is Will from Real Development. I gotta close my viewfinder. That beautiful man distracts me every time. I don't think it's just me, though. I think anybody who films themselves on camera, if you can see yourself, you end up staring right at you because, not because you're vain. I mean, I'm a little vain. I'm a lot of vain. But because you want something to look at, because staring at a lens is kind of eerie, because it's like a robot eye, and I feel like I'm in Terminator, and it freaks me out a little bit because Terminator scares the shit out of me. Why does it have an Austrian accent? It doesn't make sense. If the robot was made in America, why would they give it a German accent, you know? Come with me. It doesn't make sense, you know? I digress. Today I'm going to talk about eating like a bodybuilder. This is a two-parter. The first part is bulking and cutting. And if you don't know a lot about basically on-season and off-season in bodybuilding, basically you have contest prep mode and not contest prep mode. And they basically, the layman's terms or whatever kind of terminology you want to use, the more acceptable, I guess, is bulking and cutting. So the idea is that you bulk, you gain a bunch of weight as much as possible while keeping low fat, and then you cut pre-contest. Usually, it depends on your body, how early you start cutting for whatever contest you're planning on competing in. And during the cutting, you're trying to basically lose as much of the fat or get as shredded and ripped looking. You want to see as many striations as possible and things of that nature, and even vascularity to an extent, depending on the show you're competing in, what you find favorable, or hell, if you're not even competing, just, in general. Sorry, my contacts are floating around. I just filmed my almost Super Saiyan update, and it messes with my eyes when I try to go Super Saiyan. They don't address that in Dragon Ball Z. They don't talk about how it messes with your eyes. I digress. Look, I'm talking about, which one am I talking about? I'm talking about cutting first? Is that what I said? I hope I'm talking about cutting. I am now. Let's deal with it. So I'm going to talk about cutting first. So the idea of cutting, like I said, is basically you're trying to lose any kind of fat that you have hanging around, which can be just kind of a natural byproduct of the bulking season. And you're trying to get cut. And this video is mainly about the eating portion, not so much about the training portion. I'll probably do another video about the training of it. And I know what you're thinking, Will, you're not a bodybuilder, what the fuck? You're not a professional bodybuilder, what do you know about it? And that's a fair and valid point, but you know what? I train, I eat, I live the lifestyle of a bodybuilder, and I've been a fan of bodybuilding since I was probably 15 or 14, so coming up on pretty much 7 years I've been a fan, which I know isn't a very long time when you look at some other fans who are, older. But proportionally, that's a third of my life. So for a third of my life, this has been my life. Studying what they do, learning what they do, doing what they do. So, take my advice, don't take my advice, but, just like anything, grain of salt, you know what I'm saying? The bottom line is, I want to address the question, why do we eat the way that we eat? Why do we eat 6 meals a day, 7 meals a day, 8 meals a day? Why do we weigh our food? All of that. These are actually really simple, easy questions to answer. It's pretty fucking simple, really. And I said this video is a two-parter, but each one ties into each other because I'm trying to explain why we eat the way we eat. So when it comes to cutting, generally speaking, you're on a lower calorie diet than you're used to in terms of bulking. When you're bulking, the challenge is trying to force as much food down as possible. Usually clean food, mind you. And when you're cutting, the idea is to try to get your macros met, and sometimes that involves a significantly lower calorie count than what you're used to. So for instance, when you're bulking, when I'm bulking, I eat anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000 calories. It depends on what phase of bulking I'm in. and I just finished up my bulking. And I start off really high, and then I slowly drop it down as I work my way into cutting, because I don't want to just wake up Monday on the 5th and, you know, all right, so today instead of eating 5,000 calories, I'm just going to eat, you know, 2,100. Like that I couldn't handle it, and my body would just go nuts. So I do actually gradually lower it, but when you're cutting, you want to eat 3, 4, 5 meals a day and space it out evenly, because number one, you're probably not getting as many nutrients, macronutrients, as your body's used to. So you're going to want to spread it out further, that way you stay as anabolic as possible, which is the muscle building phase, versus catabolic, which is basically where your body starts to eat muscle for energy. And the other reason you eat every 2 hours is because you'll get hungry if you go from eating 500-600 calories per meal, sometimes even 800 a meal, depending on what level of bodybuilding you're at. You can go anywhere from 800 down to 300 per meal. That's 500 calories. That's the difference between a cup of rice. So you go from a cup and a half of rice to a half a cup of rice per meal. You go from a chicken breast that even has some fats on it, a little bit of fat, which gives you extra energy, to fish that has basically no fat, or the fats that it does have. I mean, they're so minuscule. We're talking, you know, 3 grams versus 7 grams, that sort of thing. So all of your macros, except for the protein, will be lowered when you start cutting. The things you eat change, all of that. And the reason that I eat the way I eat, whether I'm cutting or I'm bulking, which is I eat every 2 hours, whether I'm cutting or bulking. When I'm bulking, I do some other stuff too, but when I'm cutting, I eat every 2 hours, because I want to stay as anabolic as possible, even though I'm getting less nutrients, macronutrients, than I'm used to. On top of the fact that I tend to get hungry. And, you know, a meal that consists of, 4 ounces of fish, half a cup of rice, and a cup and a half of veggies, it doesn't keep me full for very long. So I'm a huge believer in macros, period. You know, if you get your macros for the day, you're fine. I don't care if you eat it all in one shot or not. You get your macros, you got your macros. That's all that matters. But I know me, and I know if I don't eat every 2 hours, like let's say I decide to skip one meal and then put 2 meals together, it's going to, number one, it's going to bloat me because of all the veggies, because they have a lot of fiber in them. So it's going to bloat me up because of that, and that's going to make it harder to eat later, because I won't digest it as easily. And it keeps me from cheating, because I'll want to cheat if I'm hungry. It's just that simple. Yeah, I keep almonds around and stuff to curb my my hunger pangs here and there, but I mean, 1 serving of almonds will only go so far, because I only bring 1 serving. If I bring it to work, I only bring 1 serving with me, and it's just like an absolute emergency. That way I don't accidentally go buy a bag of chips or something, because that's, you know, just pretty much terrible for a cut, you know. So I just wanted to address a few questions, just answer the reason why we eat the way we eat, whether we're cutting or we're bulking. And that's why, you know, it has to do with staying as anabolic as possible. It has to do with the hunger when you're cutting. And well, that's pretty much the only reasons why. And it's also a lot easier to get, you know, let's say, I mean, I'll eat 5,000 calories when I'm bulking. When I'm cutting, I'll drop down to 2,500, sometimes even lower, depending on how I see my body responding to what I'm doing. You know, if I see myself losing muscle, I'll bump up my calories a little bit, because I know I'm starting to burn muscle because I'm not getting enough external caloric intake. But if it's not, then I stay steady. And that can change from week to week based on how much fat my body has on it, that sort of thing. So it's a very delicate balance, but the bottom line is the very simple guidelines of eat your meals every 2 hours. I consider protein shakes meals because they are macronutrient rich. We're talking, you know, 25 grams of protein. That's calories. That's like 130, 160 calories right there, I think. Math off the top of my head. It's, is it 4? Yeah, it's like 100 calories right there. But they all have a little bit of carbs, some sugar and stuff in there, so it's about 160. So, I mean, you need to factor all that, but the bottom line is macros are macros. If you want to gain weight period, fat or muscle, you need more calories. If you want to lose weight, fat, and unfortunately sometimes muscle will go with it. It's about macros. It's just a macro game. And the easiest way to control your macros is to eat them over a period of time. So that's cutting some answers. I hope it helps. If anybody's even curious, I'm sure a few people out there are. Once again, I'm Will from Will Development. Thanks for watching. I think I'm going to stop doing all my shameless plugs at the end of my videos because they take up some time and I always forget something. But all the links to my other social medias are down in the clicker box below. Or not the clicker box, the description box below. And as always, I just want to know, what's your excuse?